Welcome to another Keymaster episode. I'm Sven, the host, and today we've got Joey Corpman from Keyfactor, and we wanted to get into revocation strategy, a little OCSP versus CRL. So Joey, why don't you hit it off?
Yeah, so, I've been at Keyfactor for a couple years and just trying to, determine, hey, we have CRLs, we know those are good for maintaining and managing your certificates that are issued, and obviously there's OCSP, and there seems to be a lot of different ways to deploy it. And I kind of wanted to start off with one or the other. Should you have CRLs or should you just do OCSP, or, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a great question. I mean, for me, it's really use case based. Sometimes you can get away with one. Sometimes you can get away with the other. Sometimes just use both. So it really depends on the type of devices that you're going to have involved in this. Software too, because it's not just devices, right? It's whatever it's going to be using the PKI. It's going to be really dependent on that. For me personally, doing this as long as I am a fan of kind of doing both, for having redundancy of if CRL's down, you've got OCSP, or if you have OCSP and that went down, you have CRL. So there's always a way to get validation.
Yeah.
But I guess it's really kind of use case specific like that, and there's really no right or wrong way that you could really say to do it. Because at the end, everything goes around policy. So
yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
It's the circle of policy.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I think, and kind of back to CRLs, there's a lot of people that wonder how long CRLs should be for their issuing CA or their root CA. I've seen a couple months. I don't know what you've seen out in the field. What you recommend, if there's any feeling on a best practice there?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So lifetime, I would say, at least in the US, from my time that I've spent in commercial, it's more about a year for an offline route. Maybe they might issue every 6 months.
Yeah.
Talking with the PS guys over here in Sweden, it's been where they say they do it every 3 months.
Okay.
So I guess we could say it's regional. It's also pretty policy driven at that point too.
Yeah.
I've worked for PKIs where we had an online route that was issuing a new CRL, what was it, every 48 or 72 hours even.
Gotcha.
A little uncommon, but we did that.
Yeah.
So definitely use case driven. And for me, online routes could be longer like that, 3 months to a year, maybe issue it every, 3 months or every 6 months and have it good for a year at that point. And then issuing CAs, I'm kind of a fan of no longer than 72 hours. Okay. So I would do a daily issuance with a max lifetime of 72 hours. That way I've got at least a 48-hour window in case anything happened to the PKI.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and for the CRLs hosting, it sounds like having them available is obviously pretty critical to your PKI functioning. From a deployment standpoint, I see people using CDNs or just web servers, and there's always a caching mechanism with revoking something and then it getting updated right away. What have you seen out in the field in terms of people making sure, hey, the caching on this is set to nothing, you're always pulling the latest file, or they want to keep some caching to keep things more, quick for some application that can't download a CRL that's a couple megabytes in size or something?
Ooh, wow.
That was kind of a loaded thing,
wow.
But
yeah. Huh. I've seen CDNs used, I've seen single web servers used, I've seen web farms used.
Yeah.
For the caching side, I guess that's really kind of client dependent from what I've seen.
Yeah.
On that. And I would say if you wanted more real time, then that's where OCSP is definitely going to be your friend.
Yeah.
So if you needed a NAC and you want to do block building access right away to somebody, the real time OCSP with EGBCA would be the way to go and not be dependent on CRL. So the software application that's filling in for your NAC, have that configured for OCSP to go right over to EGBCA for those.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would obviously be the real time for you. And then CRL wise, I don't know if I can really answer that.
Yeah.
There's just so many things out there, and at least from what I've seen, it's pretty application specific on controlling the cache of it. Most of the time, it keeps it for the cache for the duration of the lifetime of the CRL, I believe.
Yeah. Windows, I know, the client will keep it until the next update that Microsoft had in their CRL setups.
Yeah, right.
So if that doesn't exist, I think the client just waits till it's pretty close to expiring and pulls a new one. So it could be a while before it realizes something's revoked on a Microsoft, or at least on a Microsoft client. So yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, Sven, I think that pretty much answers most of my OCSP questions I had.
Well, that's great. Then let's wrap that up, Joey, and we'll get to another episode with some more fun PKI topics.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.